And these are the stories we're following at this hour. Seemingly back on track, the North Korea-U.S. summit next month. Delegations from the North and the U.S. are at the inter-Korean border and in Singapore, laying the groundwork for a historic summit. And definitely back on talks between the two Koreas. The two sides have agreed to hold high-level talks this week, and the long-suspended inter-Korean military talks are penciled in for next month. At South Korea's National Assembly, lawmakers are working to ratify the inter-Korean agreement, the Panmunjom Declaration, today on the last plenary session before the second half of 2018 begins. And we begin with the on-and-off summit that seems to be back on again. The White House says a pre-advanced team is en route to Singapore to check up on the logistics of a possible North Korea-U.S. summit next month. Now, this on top of the summit preparation talks at the inter-Korean border. And while all the hard work goes on behind the scenes, U.S. President Donald Trump has tweeted about the possible summit, expressing a renewed sense of optimism about the chance for a breakthrough. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
The U.S. State Department has confirmed that U.S. officials have crossed the inter-Korean border into North Korea to continue preparations for a potentially historic summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump. According to State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert, the two sides are holding talks on the northern side of the truce village of Panmunjom. The move came just a day after President Moon Jae-in and Kim held a surprise second summit on the northern side of Panmunjom, where Kim reaffirmed his willingness to denuclearize and hold a summit with President Trump. According to the Washington Post, leading the U.S. team for the working-level talks is Sung Kim, a former U.S. ambassador to South Korea and a former nuclear negotiator. The former envoy and his team crossed the inter-Korean border on Sunday to meet with Choi Sun-hee, North Korea's vice foreign minister, the official partly responsible for prompting Trump last Thursday to announce the cancellation of his summit with Kim, which was scheduled for June 12th in Singapore. The American delegation also includes Allison Hooker, a director for Korea on the White House National Security Council, and a Pentagon official. Randall Shriver, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia, is reported to be in Seoul, but it could not be confirmed whether he's the Pentagon official on the delegation. The U.S. team traveled to Tongilgak, a building inside Panmunjom, to talk about the details of the potential Kim-Trump summit, as Washington wants to see Pyongyang commit to a complete, verifiable, and irreversible dismantlement of its nuclear weapons program. The meeting between the two sides is expected to continue until Tuesday. Watchers say the two sides are on the right track again, as North Korea issued a conciliatory statement that it was still ready to talk with the U.S. at any time, while President Trump tweeted early Monday Korea time to say he truly believes North Korea has brilliant potential and will be a great economic and financial nation one day. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And U.S. President Donald Trump has been heaping praise on North Korea again, saying he believes the North can be a great economic nation one day. Now, that sentiment echoes comments he made last week ahead of his summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. And watchers say Trump appears to be ready to offer economic rewards to Pyongyang in exchange for its complete denuclearization. Our Kim Hyo-sun with more.
President Trump says he believes North Korea will one day be a great economic and financial nation, adding it has brilliant potential. This was what he wrote on his Twitter page on Sunday, as he confirmed Washington and Pyongyang are holding working-level talks in North Korea to coordinate the upcoming summit between the two countries. President Trump also said North Korean leader Kim Jong-un agrees with him about North Korea's potential for a brighter future, and it will happen. He made similar remarks while answering reporters' questions ahead of last week's summit at the White House with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. Trump elaborated that South Korea has achieved remarkable growth backed by the trillions of dollars of aid provided by Washington, and North Korea can do the same, highlighting that they are the same people. He also insisted the safety of Kim's regime will be guaranteed if Pyongyang abandons its nuclear weapons. Pundits say President Trump's remarks signal he's ready to offer massive economic rewards to Pyongyang in exchange for its complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization. Kim Yo-sun, Arirang News.
Turning now to the SNAP summit between the two leaders of the Koreas over the weekend. In a televised press conference on Sunday, President Moon Jae-in told the nation himself that the North Korean leader is still committed to the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula and to a planned meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. Our Moon Gun-young reports.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is determined to meet U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. That's South Korean President Moon Jae-in in the first public account of his surprise second face-to-face with North Korea's Kim on Saturday to discuss salvaging a canceled summit meeting between Mr. Kim and President Trump. It's a new twist in the whirlwind of diplomacy over the fate of the North nuclear arsenal.
김정은 위원장은 판문점 선언에 이어 다시 한번 한반도의 완전한 비핵화 의지를 분명히 했으며 북미 정상회담의 성공을 통해 전쟁과 대립의 역사를 청산하고 평화와 번영을 위해 협력하겠다는 의사를 피력하였습니다.
During their time together, President Moon explained the outcome of his meeting with U.S. President Trump in Washington last week.
트럼프 대통령은 김 위원장이 완전한 비핵화를 결단하고 실천할 경우 북한과의 적대 관계 종식과 경제 협력에 대한 확고한 의지가 있다는 점을 전달하였습니다.
The South Korean president, who's been a huge proponent of the North Korea-U.S. summit, told reporters at the Blue House that the North Korean leader's main concern is that he needs absolute trust from the U.S. that he can ensure regime guarantee after they completely denuclearize. But now that the two sides at least understand what the other wants and are willing to pledge, Mr. Moon expects the summit will turn out just fine, especially as working-level officials from North Korea and the U.S. have resumed talks. The secret Moon-Kim meeting was the latest dramatic turn in a week of diplomatic ups and downs surrounding the prospects for an unprecedented summit between North Korea and the U.S., and the strongest sign yet that the leaders of the two Koreas are trying to keep the on-again, off-again meeting on track. The South Korean president referred to his role this time as trying to diffuse what he called little difficulties surrounding the Kim-Trump summit. But what he's really done is setting the stage for a direct trilateral communication line between the three leaders, perhaps transforming his role from the mediator to the negotiator. Moon Gun-young, Arirang News, The Blue House.
And the leaders of the two Koreas also agreed on bringing back that warmed ties between the two again, renewing the focus on fulfilling the commitments made in the Panmunjom Declaration, which called for, among many other things, lowering tensions and bringing together families separated by the Korean War. Our Cha Sang-mi reports.
A month after President Moon Jae-in and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un signed the April 27th Panmunjom Declaration at their first historic summit, the declaration has been given a new impetus. At their surprise summit Saturday at the demilitarized zone, the leaders of the two Koreas discussed joint follow-up efforts to come.
또한 우리는 4.27 판문점 선언의 조속한 이행을 재확인했습니다. 이를 위해 남북 고위급 회담을 오는 6월 1일 개최하고 군사적 긴장 완화를 위한 군사 당국자 회담과 이산가족 상봉을 위한 적십자 회담을 연이어 갖기로 합의하였습니다.
According to the declaration, military talks are to alleviate acute military tensions and eliminate the danger of war on the Korean peninsula. The Inter-Korean Red Cross meeting is to ensure that reunions for separated families are scheduled for National Liberation Day on August 15th this year. Stressing on the significance of the promptness and informality of the latest meeting, President Moon said both sides were ready to talk on the phone or meet anytime they need to. President Moon added that he had for a long time pushed for regular meetings between the leadership of the two sides to resolve conflict and tensions, and that his desire to do so is reflected in the Panmunjom Declaration. Looking back on some important progress made already, he said the Winter Olympics held this year in Pyeongchang became a Peace Olympics and that a new path to peace and prosperity was created at the summit in Panmunjom, a site that had been a symbol of tension and confrontation.
President Moon says the direction of history is now changing. If the declaration of April 27th is fulfilled, then ordinary Koreans might no longer have to live with a deeply rooted, constant fear of conflict. Cha Sang-mi, Arirang News.
And following up on Saturday's SNAP Inter-Korean Summit, South Korea's presidential office of Cheong Wa Dae held a national security meeting on Sunday. Hosted by President Moon's top security advisor Chung Eui-yong, the National Security Council meeting centered on the follow-up measures to the latest summit, including the upcoming high-level talks between the two Koreas. Now, they also discussed ways to contribute to the successful opening of the North Korea-U.S. summit. And now for a look at stories making headlines around the world. China has lashed out at the U.S. after 2 U.S. warships sailed near contested islands in the South China Sea. Now for more on this and other news around the world, we turn to our Adam at the News Center. Adam, another furious response from Beijing over the U.S. Navy's so-called freedom of navigation exercise.
That's right, Simon. This issue has been an ongoing sticking point between the two countries. The Higgins, a guided missile destroyer, and the Antietam, a guided missile cruiser, reportedly sailed 12 nautical miles of the Paracel Islands on Sunday. They are a group of islands and reefs in the northern part of the disputed waters of the South China Sea and are contested by China and its neighbors. This forced China to send its own warships to the area to warn the American vessels to leave. Other details about the encounter were not immediately known. Beijing's defense ministry called the U.S. Navy's move a provocation and accused them of violating China's sovereignty. In a separate statement, China's foreign ministry urged Washington to stop such actions. The U.S. did not immediately respond to Sunday's statements, but it has continuously defended its operations in the disputed waters. Washington has insisted that its Navy conducts regular freedom of navigation operations around the world, including in areas claimed by allies, and that they are separate from political considerations. The latest operation comes at a sensitive time in U.S. and China relations, especially when they are both working on avoiding a potential trade war between them. Ties have also been strained due to President Trump's cancellation of a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In other news, Israel's defense ministry says the country has started to construct a marine barrier along the Gaza border to stop Palestinians, especially Hamas militants, from entering its territory. It said the underwater barrier is being built a few kilometers north of Gaza and is due to be completed by the end of the year. Israel's defense minister said the obstacle was the only one of its kind and would put a dent in Hamas's strategic capabilities. In the 2014 Gaza war, Israeli forces killed 4 Hamas militants who had managed to infiltrate its territory by sea. Italy is facing a fresh political crisis after Prime Minister-designate Giuseppe Conte gave up his bid to form a new government. His decision on Sunday came after Italy's President Sergio Mattarella rejected his choice for economy minister. Paolo Savona is a vocal critic of the euro and the European Union. 2 of Italy's anti-establishment parties, the far-right League and Five Star, accused Mattarella of betraying the constitution, and Five Star movement leader Luigi Di Maio has called for the president's impeachment. Mattarella defended his decision by saying Savona's appointment would have alarmed the markets. The populist parties are also demanding that a new election take place as soon as possible. The election in March ended in a hung parliament, forcing the 2 parties to put forward the political novice Conte to try and form a new government. A rescue ship travelling in the Mediterranean has 1 more passenger after a baby boy was born on board over the weekend. His mother, who was rescued by an Italian Navy vessel just days before his birth, decided to name him Miracle. Improving weather conditions have caused a surge in migrants risking sea crossings from Libya to Italy, with nearly 2,000 migrants travelling the route in recent days. The Aquarius, the vessel in which Miracle was born, arrived in Sicily on Sunday and is heading back to Libya.
South Korea's National Assembly is set to hold its final plenary session of the first half of the year at 2 p.m. local time. Lawmakers will try to work on ratifying the joint inter-Korean agreement known as the Panmunjom Declaration, as well as voting on bills closely linked to people's livelihoods. Now, those include an amendment of the minimum wage bill that includes regular bonuses and welfare benefits as part of the minimum wage. And ahead of the plenary session, Speaker Cheong Wa Dae, whose term will end on Tuesday, is believed to be giving his last words as Speaker to reporters as we speak at the moment. Former President Lee Myung-bak will not appear in court today for his second trial hearing over corruption charges, citing poor health. After attending the first hearing last week, the ex-leader said he would not be attending any more hearings other than those that absolutely require his presence. Now, his attorneys have submitted a formal request for a trial in absentia, and the former leader was detained in March over a dozen corruption charges, including bribery and embezzlement, and he denies all of the charges brought up against him. The annual meetings of the African Development Bank took place in South Korea last week, where over 4,000 participants from more than 80 countries have gathered in the southeastern port city of Busan. And our Kim Hae-sung had the chance to sit down with the bank's president, and let's listen to this.
President of the African Development Bank, Akimomi Adesina, thank you for joining us.
It's a great pleasure to be with you.
Accelerating Africa's industrialization is the theme for this year's African Development Bank annual meeting in South Korea. What made you select that slogan?
Well, first and foremost is that there's no region of the world, nor any country in the world that has ever moved from being a poor country or region to being wealthy without actually going through the path of industrialization. I am not content that with Africa having a lot of resources, but continue to export raw commodities. And so actually selecting Korea was a very, very good choice for the bank, because just look at what Korea did. Korea used to be a very poor country in the 1960s, in fact, poorer than many African countries in the 1960s. Their per capita income was only $165 per person. Today is well over $26,000 per person. The way Korea did that was through industrialization.
What were the main discussion points?
We've talked about the importance of investing in science and technology. This is one of the things that Korea did enormously well. Also, that industrialization, for it to be sustained, it needs political will, it needs clear direction, and it needs consistency. I had fantastic discussions with my good friend, Dr. Kim, the Deputy Prime Minister, and we signed a memorandum of understanding where it's called the Korea Africa Tech Core. So it's like a youth core, but this time it's just the techies, And so these are the techies that are going to be the young people going to Africa in the high-tech industries, and African high-tech people, young people coming here, creating a connection of high-valued high-tech industries between Korea and Africa.
Are there other areas in which South Korea and the African Development Bank can further boost their cooperation? What are they?
Going forward, I think the cooperation between Korea and Africa will focus most likely on the areas of infrastructure. Quality infrastructure is very, very important, whether it's the energy sector, whether it's the water sector, and of course, Korea is the world leader in that area. In the area of agriculture, will continue to play a very important role going forward as well.
What's the African Development Bank's main priority or goal in the coming years?
We have 5 priorities, and we're just going to stick with them because they are all intertwined. One is to light up and power Africa, because whether it is the first industrial revolution, the second, third, or fourth, they all operate on the same thing, electricity. The second one is to feed Africa. The third, of course, to industrialize Africa. The fourth one is to integrate the continent of Africa, and the fifth to improve the quality of life of the people of Africa, in particular with access to water and health and sanitation, because all these areas are exactly what Africa needs to accelerate its growth its development and improve the welfare and quality of life for its people.
Thank you so much for your time today, President.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Late abstract painter Kim Hwan-gi has once again smashed the auction price record for a Korean artist. According to Seoul Auction, Kim's red dot painting of 1972 was sold for some $7.9 million on Sunday at the auction house's sale in Hong Kong. He now holds the 6th most expensive Korean works of art to be auctioned, including his abstract painting Tranquility, which was sold for over $6 million at an auction last year in Seoul. With less than 3 weeks to go until the 2018 World Cup kicks off in Russia, the South Korean national football team will take to the pitch tonight for a friendly against Honduras. In preparation for their second World Cup group match against Mexico, South Korea, ranked 61st in the FIFA ranking, will face off against the 59th ranked Central American team in the southeastern city of Daegu. South Korea is currently struggling with injuries and has opted to rest key players including Ki Sung-yong and Lee Jae-sung, to ensure there aren't any last-minute injury headaches for head coach Shin Tae-yong. The match kicks off at 8 p.m. Korea time.
Good morning. Those of us in the central parts of the country will need to brace for some heat along with strong UV rays today. So have your sunglasses and sunblock ready. Meanwhile, Jeju and southern coastal regions will be covered with clouds after the morning rain lets up. So Jeju and Busan will have relatively cooler highs at 23 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Seoul will get up to 28 degrees, while Chuncheon and Daejeon will make it to 29 degrees this afternoon. With that, let's take a look at the international weather for viewers around the world. So South Korea will have mostly sunny skies with highs in the upper 20s in many parts. North Korea will see unstable weather conditions, but Pyongyang will be sunny today. The heat will get stronger in Beijing this week, and by Thursday, highs could soar to 37 degrees. Now, it was a harsh start to Monday morning for Wellington with rain, hail, and strong gusts. And showers are expected to continue for the rest of the day and are likely tomorrow. Over in the U.S., Chicago had the hottest Memorial Day weekend in 5 years, and heat will linger into Monday. And as for South America, Buenos Aires will see rain until Wednesday and expect a big drop in temperatures from Thursday. Taking you to Europe, more thunderstorms are on the way in the UK after torrential rain sparks flood chaos. Lastly, to Africa, more rain is expected in Cape Town from Monday into the early hours of Tuesday morning. And that's a live weather update for now.
And that'll do it for us at the hour on Arirang News. Thanks as always for watching, and goodbye for now.
July 17, 1948 is Constitution Day, the day that Korea's first constitution was promulgated to the world. The Constitution states details on freedom, equality, and responsibility, as well as elevating the quality of life for all citizens. In particular, Article 34 states that all citizens shall be entitled to a life worthy of human beings and is the foundation of the National Basic Living Security Act today. However,